So a lot has changed since I sat on this stage a year ago, especially if looking at CoinMarketCap and the prices. And that's why I think it's a very, very interesting panel we're going to have here. And as said, we have some pretty big hitters and myself. So I'm going to try to not ruin the batting average here. But let's really, really briefly get into who you are, what do you do, and how did you get into this wacky space of crypto, Web3, whatever you want to call it? Take it away.
Yep. I'm Sumit. I am the co-founder at CoinDCX. Started CoinDCX in 2018, so it's been almost 7 years. Started a very tough time in India when the market was not looked at very positively. Regulations were very tough, and very proud that we have come this far. Currently have over 16 million customers, 16 million Indians, which I think is a big landmark. We have pretty much 8 to 9 million on-chain accounts on CoinDCX platforms. And yeah, I mean, like, how did I get into? I had a lot of friends, including Edul and many others who were tinkering around with this space. Been hearing about this, got curious about Bitcoin, started with investing a little bit of that, and then suddenly I saw it going up. I was like, oh, this is interesting. Then I started
going up to $30. You know,
yeah. then I started technical reading about it at the white paper, and then I realized that, okay, this is one technology revolution that I don't want to miss out on, and then left everything else, and then just moved into it full time in 2016, 17.
Perfect.
Yeah, so I'm Edul Patel. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Mudrex. Mudrex is a crypto investing platform in India. We offer users the widest options to invest in, from 800 different spot tokens, 400 different futures contracts, and so on and so forth. We've been in the space for the last 7 years. So started in 2018. In fact, CoinDCX and CoinDCX and Mudrex started from the same flat, kind of. My co-founder was Sumit's co-founder. Okay. Sorry, Sumit's flatmate.
They used to come to the same flat, and then.
yeah, it's all in the same. Yeah. So yeah, been doing this for the last 7 years now, and now at this point in time, we have got about 3 million odd users in the country, and are looking to scale and grow that up. We are not only there in India, but we are also growing globally. We were registered as a VASP in EU.
Good, guys. Ask who you are and how you got into crypto, and don't need the full shield right now. We have a whole 40 minutes to get there.
Sure.
Good to be here. My name is Chen. I'm the Chief Operating Officer of Bitgo. Bitgo is a global digital asset infrastructure provider. We do a bit of everything: digital asset custody, staking, trading, borrow, lend, the whole 9 yards. We have over $90 billion assets on platform, 70 billion plus assets under custody, 30 plus billion staked. So a lot of bees floating around.
I think you need to mic drop and leave the stage. All right, cool. Yep. Let's do it. So actually, how you got into space, briefly?
So I actually started doing crypto stuff, Bitcoin stuff, way back when, in 2012. December of 2012, I was a Microsoft product manager a long, long time ago. These engineers were talking about this magic internet money called Bitcoin. I got super interested. I should have bought directly, but I instead went to Best Buy, one of the electronics stores, and purchased a bunch of Bitcoin mining equipment. So I was mining, quote unquote, for fun for many, many years before I jumped in full time in 2017.
Nice, perfect. That's a great story. All right, perfect. I'm Ital. I'm from MarketAcross. We are a PR and marketing firm. We represent a bunch of the cool companies here, as well as Binance, Crypto.com, and a bunch of other exchanges as well. All right, perfect. So, crypto, very in, cool, we see that. I'd love to see from your perspective and from your data, where is this coming? The prices now, are they bringing a lot of new users? Is it mom and pops? Is it traditionals? What is the first thing that they're buying? Are they buying and holding it? Are they taking it off? Are they starting to buy other stuff? I'm really interested briefly to understand the kind of new user flow we're seeing right now on each one of your perspectives.
Yeah, so maybe I can start off. So last year at IBW, when we were sitting here, everyone was saying that Bitcoin is going to go down, there are not going to be any regulations, and so on and so forth. It's a happy change that's happened. But actually that change is not only in the market prices, it's also change in the user's mentality. Every year we roll out kind of a survey to our users. That's about a few million users who end up then participating in it. And the one of my favorite questions over there is, over what time duration are you looking to invest in crypto? And there are 4 options, right? Are you looking to do it for the short term, like less than 3 months? Are you looking for 3 to 2 years?
Surveys are cheap. So he can do the survey and still sell Shiba 10 minutes later. But
exactly. So, no, but it's important how the answers change. 2 years ago, 55% people say that they are in it for the short term. 2 years later now, more than 60% say that they want to hold it for the long term. In fact, a small portion say they are wanting for a retirement portfolio. So that's one.
I
The
actually
other
tend
thing-
to agree from my end. If I see from my friends or my whatever, they always have been asking me on a personal, and I always tell them, if you're asking me when to buy, don't buy. Like, don't ask that question. And now I think the people that are getting into it are like, all right, I understand that it's going to go up, it's going to go down. I need to put a little bit maybe on the side or whatever. And yeah, again, I don't have the numbers behind it, but I can see that kind of higher conviction coming in.
Correct. But I don't still see, at least where we are in the cycle right now, extremely new users coming in. What you are seeing is a lot of reactivation. Old folks who had held their bags are now coming back to see what their portfolio is like and what's its
So
good.
we're going to have a question on that in a bit. So what are you seeing?
Yeah, I mean, like we are seeing good jump in users, and just to give you some insights, our user base is roughly between 25 to 30 years. So we have seen adoption happening in young users a lot more. We have seen adoption happening in cities which have higher literacy rate, higher, like south of India largely. So most of the users also come from there. We have also seen a trend where users tend to come from, let's say in the previous cycle, Dodge and SHIB, and then eventually transition to Bitcoin and Ethereum. Here, maybe a lot of users came from Hamster, created an account on CoinDCX, and then eventually ended up buying Bitcoin. And when we talk to them, I think the insight that we get is that most of the users, more than 80-90% of the users, are buying it and holding it for the long term. And the remaining 10% of the users are there for trading and for speculating purposes. But really, most of the users who get it, they buy and hold for long term, which I think is a great sign.
All right, that brings us to getting it
Bitgo.
and holding. Sorry, Bitgo. Sorry.
Exchange.
Long day,
It's
long
okay.
day.
Lots of bits floating around.
Yeah, so Bitgo.
I'll answer from an institutional
Exactly, I
perspective.
was going to say, you're getting a lot of phones. Are you getting now very weird, all right, we need to do this right now? Like, what's happening?
Look, there was 2 unlocks, I would say, over the last 6 to 12 months. The first unlock was the introduction of Bitcoin ETFs in the United States. That's where the real money is. We're talking about trillions of dollars of assets. If you're able to find a ticker and buy it from interactive brokers, from the top brokerage firms in the United States, call up your guy at Morgan Stanley and say, hey, give me 10 million, 50 million of this asset. Once Bitcoin ETFs were launched, it made it so much easier for institutions to come in with massive amounts of buying power.
And did they?
They did. Just look at the big Bitcoin ETF charts over time. You have days whereby there's hundreds of millions of dollars of inflow across the top ETFs.
It's them versus Michael Saylor. Who's going to get the Bitcoin?
Michael Saylor
Who's
is
gonna
always
get the
gonna buy.
Bitcoin?
Like that guy will never sell. The other unlock, obviously, is President Trump. We are back, baby. The 47th president. If you look at the most recent run-up, it started election night. Election night, fast forward to the next 3, 4, 5 weeks, you see that uptick. There's going to be a massive changing of guards within the various departments in the United States government, starting with the SEC. Gary is out. I'm sorry, Gary. If there's any Gary lovers, Gary is out, baby.
Fuck
And-
Gary.
But with the new SEC commissioner being installed, with the new Treasury secretary, hopefully Operation Choke Point 2.0 will come to an end, and this will unlock a new era of growth for crypto.
Perfect. All right, cool. So we actually want to talk to what you said about new users, or I would say onboarding. Looking at MetaMask, they would have said that NFTs were the biggest they saw on-chain catalyst of new MetaMask opens. So again, good or bad, love it or hate it, NFTs brought in more people to the system. What are we seeing? Are you seeing that, I don't know, tap to earn games, or is it more reactivations? Have we had a catalyst that brings new users to the table, or is this more of current users who are doubling or tripling down because their conviction has been, I guess, solidified?
At least what we see is that a small sliver of users came in for tap and earn and now are coming in for AI agents. And in between, they came in for meme coins.
Where are the AI agents? I'm looking for them. Yeah.
But in reality, most users that we see new are just coming in and buying BTC and ETH. It's Bitcoin. That's what most new people are buying.
So we've had price increase, but we still haven't seen someone or a trend that will push a new flex of users.
Correct.
Meme coins? No? Yeah? Is that happening?
I don't think retail is fully here. Just like if you
Retail's
just look,
not here
I
yet.
don't think like the full blown of like retail force. I don't think it has arrived yet.
I agree.
If you look at the top charts of where the Coinbase app is sitting, where the Gemini app, where the Kraken app is sitting, respective to their previous peaks, we're not there. If you look at Google Trends, right, Bitcoin versus AI as an example, we're not there. So hopefully the best is yet to come.
Yep. I think retail is starting to enter, but maybe 10% there, or but there's huge headway for growth that we have seen at least in 2021, like where we were acquiring like 1.5 lakh, 2 lakh, 200,000, 250,000 customers every day. Right now it's probably like 10, 15, 20% of that. So I think there's a lot of retail who are yet to enter. I also agree on your point on meme coins. I think unfortunately or fortunately, whatever, right? Lot of conversations happening around.
When I'm on
crypto
stage,
society.
you can never be the vulgar one, so you can say whatever you want. Don't worry.
Like a lot of people are sort of talking about memes and being the new narrative, at least for, so whoever, like retail people who are participating in it, I think we have seen good activity in terms of our Web3 wallet, where like there is a meme section. So in terms of new users, we see users coming into that section first and then transitioning into Bitcoin.
Well, it would go against the data because Nansen actually just did a very small but very cool report showing on-chain activity of wallets that interacted with meme coins. And I think that they show that more than 85% of wallets will see complete liquidation. Complete liquidation. And that's, by the way, worse than any casino odds you can go into. So the question
Stay
is...
safe out there, guys.
But no, so again, you can't not, you also can't hate on meme coins because if you ask me personally, it's also retail telling us founders, we don't care about your promises for white papers anymore or what L1s or 2s or 3s you say you're going to build or whatever or spend money on conferences. We're just going to do a picture of a dog and start rugging ourselves.
Look, so just to interrupt, actually, the place where we are seeing a lot of retail participation is using crypto for actual use cases like money movement.
Yeah.
That's where I see where people are knowingly or unknowingly interacting with crypto, moving it across, not really
it
investing.
doesn't the market cap. There's
Of course.
I think there's $500 million market cap meme coins just running around. Like I'm not even talking about
Something we should be proud of.
Yeah.
Like if you rewind time and think about the very first meme coins that existed,
Yeah.
Crypto Kitties, remember that?
Yeah, of
it literally
course.
brought down the Ethereum network.
Yeah.
Right? That was the first meme coin per se.
Yeah.
We should be proud of the technologies that exist today.
Yeah.
Across these various L1s out there. It actually works.
Yeah.
Right? I'm not saying the use case is the best use case, pumping some of these cat tokens, but ultimately the technology is there. If you're able to scale to Visa and MasterCard level TPS, like in production, that's pretty incredible. And we should be proud of the other founders on stage here and across the various stages around the world.
So you're saying don't just look at people on Pumped Out Fund who lock themselves in
cages.
In cages and say they're not leaving till whatever. Look on how cool the infrastructure that they have that they can rug us so quickly and
We
effectively.
should be proud of the infrastructure improvements. Absolutely.
All right, perfect. But actually, I'm really interested to look at like these type of things, both on a custodial and also on exchange way. When you now look at new assets, and are we going to support them, list them, create all this back-end infrastructure for, and then it's a meme. It's you don't even know who the founder is at many points. I'm not talking about there's Doge and Shiba and then the other ones. How do you address that? And also, in general, I think it's a larger question. There's security, which has to do with people should not be able to take your funds, and again, that's why you have amazing custodians, et cetera. But do you also see that you guys have security in protecting your users from malicious assets and founds? Like, how do you stand that, knowing that meme coins, by definition, have a time stopper and most of them will go to zero? So how do you balance that?
Sure. I think on the product, there are two things that we do. One is we have put down like maybe 2 to 3 minutes of video bites in right places in the app. So when people are navigating the app, they can understand what this is all about.
Yep.
There is also video that, okay, this is a meme coin, these are the risks associated. And whenever a user gets into that flow, there is a disclaimer that comes. I think that is the right way to do it. Just not having it or not doing it, people will find some other place.
Yeah.
But having right disclaimers in place at the right step in the flow is essentially what gives most of the education, and we have seen it working for us, specifically to meme coins. Your second question was on the safety also.
Well, I think that kind of touches that together. Do you see your fiduciary responsibility for your clients to provide them technical safety of no one will steal their coins, but also safety on the options of trading on my platform are vetted, and we believe that, of course, you can control it, but that there's a smaller chance of these projects rugging. Let's put it that way.
Yep. Very important point, just very crisply. I think we believe that it is utmost responsibility of an exchange to make sure that customer funds are protected at all times. Will not go into things that we have done. It's all out there in public. But the philosophy that we believe in is that give user options to do what they want to do. There are three things, and of course, within the ambit of law, within the ambit of compliance, there are three things that we have done. Users on CoinDCX can choose the custody that we have, which is distributed in cold wallets. There is also a decentralized custody feature that we have launched very recently, in fact, 2 weeks back, where
Well, kind of like OKX model of the wallet as well, etc.
yeah, so it's integrated within the CoinDCX, so they can, in one swipe, they can move their funds from CoinDCX to a decentralized custody, and they can track their funds linked to their wallet on-chain.
Okay.
Right? That's the second option. Third is, there is a self-custodial wallet also that we have launched, so people can directly take those funds to self-custodial wallet, which is the Octo wallet. So, ultimately, customers can decide where they want to sort of park their funds.
Perfect. What are you thinking?
Yeah. So just on the trading front, I'd like to focus more on that. I think we spent a lot of time in the past thinking and deciding whether we should list things or not, What we eventually realized is that
I just love to
those
see
who want to
I'd
trade-
love to see a vetting meeting over like a cat, dog, whatever. Like, oh, look at the fundamentals
Yeah.
How do you do that?
Users who want to trade, they'll just trade wherever you can. So the only thing that we thought that we can do is, okay, let's provide information. So we got a section where we try and put in fundamental analysis for every tokens. For the ones that are there, we actually do attribute a rating over there. But for most of these tokens, it just says, NA, this is highly risky. Please trade it at your own risk. And then there are just limits that you can put as to what user can do and not. We can't
Yeah,
really
but
control and limit.
even if I put big stickers on it, giving bazookas to 16-year-olds is still giving a bazooka to 16-year-olds.
Yeah, and that's why the only thing that you have to do or can do is provide them information and limit the amount of things that they can do. So, for
Okay.
example, there are not large transactions that
I want to go to a different thing, but there also could be a situation where the grown-ups in the room decide that we as the industry will go against our users and say we don't like these activities and we're not going to list these meme coins. We're not going to contribute to this. That's an option. Maybe it's a bad financial one, but I'd love your thoughts.
So we have we look at these new coin listings from two angles. We are highly regulated. We have 7 trust companies that's regulated by the top jurisdictions and regulators around the world,
You can't hold ETF money and not have it.
including New York, DFS, including BaFin over in Europe. There's 7 of them, and
Wow.
every single one of these regulators, they have their own insane process of all the guidelines we should follow for these new listings, and we abide by those guidelines. From a technical perspective, we're also looking very, very carefully at the underlying smart contracts themselves. Like fundamentally, right? Is there a loophole in the smart contract that, despite us keeping the private key secure, can somebody else act maliciously and move the coins unilaterally? The answer has to be no. If the smart contract has a hole in it, we're not going to list that token.
Okay, well, I have so many questions there because I don't know, so many blockchains have stopped and then came out. Aptos had a whatever. So if you can, Solana has a restart button. So
Yeah. Those risks definitely do exist. I'm more referring to like the ERC20s, the SPLs.
that have the complete like backdoors.
Yeah, like if you look carefully at some of the tokens, some of them are indeed malicious. Like the founder of that SPL token, as an example, there is a hidden backdoor whereby they can move all the tokens to a different address.
Perfect. So I'm gonna get in the sexy area of regulation. Can you just start?
Oh my God.
So again, I already said what I thought about, I would say the overarching, let's say Gensler regulation as a complete no or whatever. But do you believe that all 3 of your products today are better and safer for their users because of regulation? Or has regulation really just brought in red tape and is making everything slower? Because I do think that in the end of the day, the industry knows how to self-regulate itself. It's amazing. But we do need mom and dad sometimes. So do you guys think that working with a regulator has brought users better experiences, or is it just making everything slower?
I'll start. It
Yeah.
varies by regulator,
Yeah.
right? Like some of the regulators that we have for some of our trust companies, they're actually very open-minded. They know more than you think they know, right? They actually do the research. They have Google alerts set up for all the keywords, including Bitgo. They might see this presentation tomorrow. Ultimately, it's a fine line that we need to walk down. For us to be a lot more legitimately viewed as asset class in the eyes of traditional finance, parts of this whole ecosystem ultimately needs regulation. However, if you go and take regulation a little bit too far, such as what the SEC has historically done, This is regulation by enforcement, right? They're not even defining the rules that you're supposed to follow. They're just sending you lawsuits left and right. That obviously is on the other side of the spectrum. You don't want that.
One of the best threads, I think, that if you're interested in this, you should see Brian Armstrong a few years ago talk about specifically him and Gensler and the SEC. Coinbase, publicly traded company, said, cool, we want to start doing a lending program. Contacted the SEC and said, hey, how do we do this? No response. And then they said, SEC responded saying, you're not doing it. We're like, well, we did internal emails and we already have 20 or 30 million whitelisted people waiting to do loans on Coinbase. So we're going to do it. Let's talk about how we do it. Then the SEC said, give me the emails of those 20 million people. So, you know, and then Celsius got all that action, and we all know what happened to Celsius. So, you know, there is sometimes good things with regulations.
Yeah, so I actually think the job of the regulator is highly underrated. In most cases, their job is the protection of interests of the masses. But as Chen said, the reality is that how does that regulator interface with the entities that are working and the user that they are trying to protect? I think that ends up being way more important than how they do it. In reality, I feel that having them is useful. It builds a layer of trust for everyone. It keeps the bad actors out very clearly, and then just make sure that the folks who are in there have a framework to operate in. And that, I think, is more important than anything else.
Yeah, I think for the industry that we are in, crypto industry, where there are a lot of bad actors, a lot of people who want to take advantage of the situation and maybe hurt customers, regulations are important and are needed. But principle-based regulations rather than clearly laying out, oh, these are the 10 things you need to follow mandatorily, because technology is rapidly evolving. So as long as there are principle-based regulations, I think that's good for the sector, because if customers are getting impacted at any point in time, it hurts all of us. It hurts the customer, it hurts the participant, it hurts the companies, everyone, and the sector gets a bad name. We don't want that to happen. So regulators, as a checkpoint, essentially, their job is to make sure that at no point companies are doing things which will harm customers. And that's the reason why it's important. As an exchange founder, I would love to see regulations in India, like what happened very recently, unfortunately, right, with another exchange. I think those situations, customers would have a better protection if regulations would be there, right? So I want those things.
All right, perfect. So a lot of people here, retail or crypto holders, still don't know exactly what should be doing with their coins. So should I give it to an exchange, but oh my God, it's like a bank and it can take my money? Or should I self-custody, but then there's that 14 words, 7 words, piece of paper, I give it to my mom, to my dad? Or should I start giving like retinal information? How would you now, if your, I don't know, I wouldn't say aunt, but your best friend is into it, getting into crypto, how would you advise them on playing this field?
Yeah, I think it's simple. If you can handle self-custody and you understand all of that, always move funds to self-custody. That's the ethos with crypto. That's the ethos around blockchain and why you would want to invest in it and so on and so forth. So I would always advise it. The problem is that a lot of people don't know how to use it, and actually moving funds to self-custody puts that...
They're going to lose it.
Much more crypto,
at some point.
Much more crypto has been lost for life by self-custody mistakes than hacks that aren't inside jobs. And we're going to get to the other side. Like that's a lot of people have lost a lot of money on self-custody.
Yeah, which is why that balance is important, right? Like the benefit of centralized platforms is that more often than not, they've got robust security features so that your crypto stays safe. The downside is, yes, sometimes hacks can happen. But of course, you should try and, if you can, use it, always move funds to self.
I usually tell people, so first of all, you have to buy your Bitcoin, and buying your Bitcoin needs to be usually from a centralized entity. And I usually advise people to start playing with it there and understanding the mechanisms, and then try to go into self-custody itself. But for someone who has never interacted with all that, starting to get a MetaMask and the signatures and not knowing whatever, could be very, 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 very dangerous.
It's very dangerous, and I think there is no single bullet. The answer is like, depending upon at what comfort level you are in your journey of crypto, I think you need to choose the right option. Like I mentioned, like whether you want to do a custodial solution or an MPC based or a self-custodial, totally depends on the customers.
What about institutions? So let's say there's you guys, and then let's say there's competitors that take different approaches of maybe helping you self-custody your own stuff. What are you seeing institutions want?
Look, if you're custodying a couple $1,000s, even tens of $1,000s or hundreds of $1,000s, put it on an exchange. It's fine. If you're in the tens of millions, hundreds of millions, If you're
Good
in
for
the
you.
billions of
Good
dollars,
for you then.
A, good for you.
Yeah.
But B, most likely you're running some sort of large fund. Most likely you'll have LPs. Most likely you have fiduciary responsibilities to your investors. Your LPs don't want to keep $50 million of the fund on a USB thumb drive inside of your drawer. Like, that is not a viable solution. This is why people like us, Bitgo, exist. And the reason why we're different compared to the other custodians, one, we are multi-sig through and through, so there's no single point of failure. You have to have at least 2 of the 3 keys to do any action within our ecosystem. And 2, guess where these keys are held? We have physical vaults. Yes, it's very ironic. There's physical vaults, and if you're in the United States, because we love guns so much, there's guys with large machine guns standing in front of the vault, guarding one of these keys. That is why we are different compared to some of these other quote-unquote custodians that exist, fake custodians that exist, that keep all their assets in various AWS HSMs, right? If your DevOps laptop is compromised, your AWS frontline is compromised, guess what? You're hacked. Versus how do you hack Bitgo? You have to basically get a small militia and storm one of our vault centers, actually multiple vault centers, to get enough keys and shards to move the funds.
I love that. That's a great answer. All right, so we're going to start wrapping up. I think we have like 1 or 2 kind of questions left. So I'm really, really intrigued on what you guys, I would say, think forward thinking at the industry. We're talking about Trump, 4 amazing years of whatever, hopefully. So crypto started by a lot of people as a cypherpunk movement to replace. Now it looks like we're improving fiat. Like, and in general, also like decentralization, not decentralization. I personally think that decentralization is cool, but it's not a necessity. I wouldn't drive a decentralized car. I wouldn't fly a decentralized airline. So are we starting to see more of a disconnect between what the fathers intended and what we're doing? And by the way, that's the beauty of code. You can do whatever you want with it. But do you think a hypothetical...
That's a deep question.
A hypothetical Satoshi sitting here right now, would he like what's happening?
I think he would love it.
Yeah?
Yeah, I think he would love it. Like, I'll explain the answer why. See, I think what all of this has given us is the ability to be really creative on a very locked down asset historically, right? Like, finance has been very controlled, very constrained, and that limits financial inclusion, that limits financial stability, financial freedom, and so on and so forth. And the entire point of all of this is that creative people can come on board, create new products that actually at the end of the day enable users to be financially free. If that won't happen, people won't use it. Like, that's anyways going to be there. But if you can enable that, that's why more and more products will get built and more people will come in. So I think Satoshi will love it to see where we are today.
Yeah, cool.
I think your question, if we look at 5-10 years down the line, I think the industry is going to be less interesting or maybe a little more boring than what it has been, because the returns...
we talked about this backstage, that you know it's going to be the JP Morgans of the world and not the DGen Morgans of the world, you know.
Yeah, I mean, like, that's the trend, and the returns are going to fall because a lot of people are here for like 100% returns in a day. I think that's going to go down. It will have people from TradFi coming in, and it's going to bring a lot of that thing as well. I think whether we agree or not, we are in a financial services industry. Regulators and governments across the world will not, at least for the most of the parts, will not let it run like that. I think when that happens, I think the industry is also going to be a lot more regulated, supervised, monitored, so that illicit actors cannot take part in this ecosystem, which I think is also fine. And it's going to be a journey. Like, we'll have to get our foot in the door, and then that happens when it gets mainstream, and when there are billions of people doing that, then essentially all these things will start coming up.
Okay, I'm with you, but you also have to think that we had 2 or 3 years ago an amazing moment for Bitcoin where governments were failing, fiat, inflation, whatever, and Bitcoin just became an asset that acts like the most speculative of stocks or whatever. So now maybe it's a different cycle, but are we not going to try and be a hedge to fiat, and fiat is bad? Like, did we forget all about that in general?
That's not how it's going to happen. I think because the underlying, like, Bitcoin is itself decentralized. So I think all of that, we need to inherit that. Plus, we also need to make sure of a way where we can grow the industry, we can grow the category, and ensure that customers are protected at all times. I think, so.
Yeah.
Going back to our boy Satoshi,
Yeah.
I'll take the other side. I think Satoshi would be kind of disappointed. Looking at the decentralization element specifically,
Yeah.
I'm not going to name any names here on stage, but if
Yeah.
you look carefully at some of the blockchains, the newer blockchains that are getting a lot of traction, some of these blockchains that portray themselves as the next decentralized XYZ, ABC, no, it's actually not decentralized. Seriously, ask yourself who actually controls some of these blockchains. How many sequencers
I was
are
just
there?
gonna say the perfect word. If there's a sequencer involved, start asking questions.
How many sequencers are there? Oh, there's one sequencer? Who controls that sequencer? Oh, the company behind the blockchain controls that sequencer? Is that really a decentralized blockchain? No, it's not. It's a public append-only database that has one admin user, and that admin user happens to be bald, right? That's who that person is. So is Satoshi Nakamoto happy that we've devolved to a state whereby we have this public append-only database with one admin user
And dogs with hats.
and dogs with, yeah. I don't
right.
think so.
We're going to end on that note. I'm going to ask my three very distinguished speakers to go there and let people ask you some questions, whatever. I'm sure a lot of people want to come and talk to you guys. So our guests are going to spend a few minutes on the side and open for personal Q&As. And thank you very much. Keep building and check and verify and stop with the meme coins. Come on. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.